Hi, I am Brittany Reyes, and this is my podcast, Cancer at 34, where I bring awareness of facing cancer at a young age and finding myths and hope of finding hope in the midst of it. Welcome back, Thrivers. This is the last episode of this series. This is episode 6 of my series of fighting self-sabotage and steps to overcoming that inner critic. In my last episode, I covered minimizing and naming our inner critic to an insignificant object. In this episode, I wanted to share with you examples and actions that you can take to help with fighting those self-sabotaging behaviors by taking action. And I'm not saying that I'm a skilled person at taking any of these actions to help fighting sabotaging behaviors. Instead, I wanted to let you see that I too am flawed, imperfect, and struggling at times as a human. So to show everyone that just because I have been given this token of cancer, I am the same as any other person going through a difficult period in my life. I want to be a friend to those that are also trying to navigate through this journey called life, only that I'm sharing it through that lens of cancer. So to let people know what it feels like, what it looks like, and how it is to live with it. I am sharing this to bring insight to what cancer can look like for myself and possibly for anyone or someone else who may relate with my content. I feel that I have reached a point in my life where I need to take action to start healing my mind, my body, and even my soul, because cancer was that big red alarm for me, blaring to stop and stop suppressing my emotions, speaking out for myself, and doing things I need for myself. Because I can now share this with others about taking action to move away from those self-sabotaging behaviors, because I'm not trying to let myself down. I'm trying to lead me to a brighter future where I can feel hope, self-love, and even healing. So what are some of those obstacles that I feel may present themselves in the future? I do think that there may be some obstacles for my body, my mind, and my spirit. The reason I say this is because at the moment, there are changes that my body is experiencing right now. And so I want you guys to allow me to be open here. And this is obviously a very sensitive topic for myself. And that's about having intimacy with my husband. I feel like it's almost non-existent since January of 2024. I can probably count the number of interactions we've had. Now, this is not to say that I'm bashing my husband, but I'm speaking about the bigger picture here. That is a relationship that it's been affected in this area. Since my full hysterectomy, you cannot be sexually active 2 months post surgery. And honest to God, I was even scared 4 months post-surgery to even try. So my surgery involved the removal of my uterus, my ovaries, my fallopian tubes, my cervix, and nine lymph nodes around my uterus. I was left with what doctors call a vagina cuff. So this really put me in a very bad headspace of insecurity because my body is no longer able to experience intimacy as pleasurable. And as I write this episode, it still isn't. I do feel like there are expectations in my mind as a woman that women need to be available for their husband or he will look elsewhere. And this has definitely affected me mentally and at my core because I already have previous feelings, as I mentioned in my other episodes, of not feeling enough because of how everything started to come down with cancer. I started having those feelings of not being enough. So having this surgery played even more into that experience for me. So I have some characteristics that I think I can use that I know that have helped me, and that my characteristics or personality, for other words, are that I don't give up easily. I have a self-drive to better myself constantly, and I hold myself accountable. And I really want like what is best for myself and for my husband. So I also know that it can be very hardwired in me sometimes. So I know that I also need to pull back sometimes so I can be patient with myself and my husband. And I also think that being able to communicate at all times with my husband, even if it's hard to do or it's a hard topic, I think it's important because no one is a mind reader to guess how we're feeling or how we're thinking. So it does help me to talk to my husband about how I feel and for him to reassure me that everything's okay, that he doesn't see me any differently because of my surgery and the things that my body has to endure. But even then, sometimes those feelings feel bigger than me, and the feelings of not feeling wanted can be even greater. So I've been looking into trying to find therapists to discuss this more openly because I know that in a relationship, there has to be a mutual interest to exhaust all options of working on a marriage. And I do think that it's essential for me to build up my internal world. And what I mean by that is by setting some time aside for journaling, whether that be prayer, meditation, reading. I think these things are important because these are some tools that have really helped me to keep grounded on my worst days. And spending time with myself, I think, is a great form of self-care. So I also encourage you, spending time with yourself is also a great form of self-care, however that may look like for you. Maybe getting a massage, a new hairstyle, a mani and a pedi day, or take a trip to your favorite place. Trust me, your body will feel more relaxed, even light after some self-care. And if you include some journaling of 5 things that you're thankful for today, I think that's really helpful for me. So I really want to share that with you to try that out and see how it works for you, because it centers you to take that small break from a busy schedule. And also don't forget, you come first. Whenever you start your day, you come first to take care of yourself first, because you want to be able to function. You want to be able to be your best version of yourself. And even a good cry is good on a bad day, or when you're going through something. I encourage you to have a good cry because this allows your body to process what it has gone through. And for me, my body went through something big and significant, like the removal of my uterus and all my reproductive system, and also enduring chemo and enduring radiation. So it puts a lot of stress on your body, and it definitely helps to have a good cry, a good laugh, because I feel like those are a natural response of my body reacting to stress or relieving stress. And so I also wanted to encourage you by keeping in mind these 3 principles when it comes to digressing self-sabotaging behaviors. When you're experiencing them, remember to be SIA. Okay, so those are acronyms to use when you're experiencing those self-sabotaging behaviors, which stands for social, internal, and active. So let's break that down a bit. So the S for social means to remember to stay connected with a social group. So be social, whether that be a support group, a circle of friends that you have, or any group that you can relate to or has the same mindset to achieve similar goals. So for me, that has been attending a support group with people that have experienced cancer. It helps to validate me, make me feel seen and understood. And honestly, I think that is something that we need at times, when we get too wrapped up in our head and not feeling like our best self. I really have received a lot of love and support from my family and friends, which I can greatly appreciate. But it still feels like you want to feel understood. You want to feel understood by someone who has experienced the similar fears, doubts, and uncertainties that life brings with cancer. So I want to invite you to reassess what your circle of friends looks like or your support group looks like. It's not to speak bad about your friends or your friendships that you do have, but there are certain friends that you can, for example, go to a concert with and you feel comfortable going to that concert with that specific friend, or even you have certain friends that you just like to chill with, or you have one specific friend that you can have like that deep conversation with. But even then, having expectations on just one friend to have all these qualities is kind of unfair to expect that of them, for them and to you as well. So now let's touch back to that internal meaning, to the I. So that internal meaning is where we can really focus on practicing meditation or prayer, because it's a time to set aside where you feel your feelings and you write them on the journal or you pray about them so that you don't internalize those feelings and start to create more stress on your body. So lastly, the A is for being active. And I'm not just referring to like exercise, but doing something that gets all your senses in tuned to an activity. So for example, I would say cooking, arts and crafts, dancing, swimming, walking. And I started a routine for myself as well to get up in the morning, at least to go for like a 30-minute walk to get my body warmed up, and it makes my day feel more empowered. So I think it's important to actively search for ways that you feel more empowered each day so that you feel like you're reaching your full potential or that you're accomplishing your goals in a more micromanaging way versus having it in a full macro where it looks too big where you can't really reach those goals. And so with that in mind, let's go ahead and recollect the principles I shared in the previous episodes to bring them all together. We can almost always start to notice when we are sabotaging ourselves, when we start procrastinating instead of working towards our goals. Then we begin to have that negative self-talk, right? Where we start saying, well, I can't do this. I'm not like smart enough to do this, or I don't feel like I'm capable to carry out this plan. So instead we start procrastinating instead of working in our goals, and we start sabotaging, right? Or we feel like we don't want to experience failures, so we fear to even start working on our goals. So if you're anything like me, you maybe give yourself that pep talk that I will get to my goals once all the stars are aligned or once I feel more prepared. And honestly, I don't think anyone is prepared in life for a lot of situations, and we have to learn to adapt. And it is something that we need to do for ourselves and for those loved ones that depend on us, so that we can present that best version of ourselves or have some knowledge of how to navigate through all the chaos. So remember to visualize, who do you want to be? How do you want to feel? How do you want your life to look? And understanding that there is room for development within ourselves, and know what needs are we needing to work on. So there will always be thoughts that our inner critic will want us to believe so that we don't accomplish our goals. So we need to acknowledge that we can get our power back by minimizing the voice of our inner critic to the size of an insignificant object, for example, like an ant, as we mentioned in the previous episode. So lastly, I want to remind you, taking action and being proactive to work against self-sabotaging behaviors, which is the last episode we touched on. And again, thank you for listening in today's episode. I want to close all these episodes with this quote from Randy Pausch. It says, "We cannot change the cards we are dealt, and only how we play the hand." So I hope this series gave you some tools to deal with some sabotaging behaviors that we all may experience sometimes. I'm excited to share my upcoming episode called I Miss Her. It will be a very personal one, so stay tuned, guys. And as always, and as I always say, from one thriver to another, keep thriving.